All right, I think, ladies and gentlemen, that we shall begin. It is already 3:15 and approximately 10 to 12 students have joined. So from India, Namaskar, Assalamu alaikum, and a very, very good afternoon. I would like to share a few things with you before I begin the syllabus. Can you hear me? Am I audible? Yes, I assume that's a yes. If you cannot hear me, please let me know. I have here a total of 14 people, and I have
Yeah, the sound is okay.
I'm glad the sound is okay. So I'm just giving you a good afternoon greeting and requesting everybody,
Okay.
if you want, please switch off your cameras. If you want, please off your cameras, and you must definitely switch off your mics. I would like to start by sharing a PowerPoint, as I have told you that you can, you know, either take a screenshot of what you like, or you can just write it, or you can just snap it, whatever you want. And I am trying to share a just a minute. So give me a minute to okay, I've got that. Yes. Please let me know if you can see this. I'm sure all of you can see this. The program that you are part of as international students is called the IGNU e-Vidyabharti program. So before I actually start the program, I would like to tell you a little bit about IGNU. This is very much on the public domain, so you can check it out for yourself. This is a national open university that has been established in 1985, and the focus of this university is inclusive education, building up a knowledge society through inclusive education by offering high quality teaching in the ODL mode, which we know as the open and distance learning mode. Today, there are 3 million students in India and abroad. There are 21 schools of studies. There is a network of 67 regional centers, approximately 3,000 learner support centers, and 29 international partner institutions. So it is indeed a privilege for me to be addressing you and for you to be attending a course. We are reciprocally enriched to be with each other. The mandate of IGNU is to provide higher education to all strata and segments of the society, to offer high quality, innovative programs at different levels, to reach out to the marginalized and the disadvantaged, and to widen access by continuous professional development and using the latest technology in imparting education. So the vision of IGNU and the vision that we are successfully accomplishing, you as scholars and me as academician, is to integrate national development with global understanding. So consider the course of Masters in English not just as an academic course, but also as a course for learning, development, continuous lifelong learning networks, etc. So today, what you are being subjected to is distance education. And as you all know, you are wise, you are mature, you are scholars. So as all of you know, the distance education is very different from classroom education. Distance education, first of all, right now is virtual. So instead of being taught or tutored, you are being facilitated because you are being given access to learning where we may be separated by time, by distance, by both, but what we are actually doing is giving you an educational experience outside the classroom, which is equal or even maybe superior in quality value, and which best suits your purpose, your needs, your requirements, and what suits you. How are we doing this? We're doing this with emerging technology. How are we using emerging technology? We are using emerging technology to create a virtual platform to provide individualized communication with international students like you. And the potential here is very immense because you are being given the same kind of attention, or even maybe better attention than students of the classroom would be given. So the concept here is distance education, and here you are across the virtual platform with me as your guide, your navigator, your teacher, your tutor, your counselor. And I wish you all the very best of luck as you embark upon this learning journey. You will have to prepare an assignment for every component of your curriculum, and MEG5 is the component that I will be addressing. Of which I think will continue till February, you will be informed how and when you have to submit an assignment for which a question paper will be given to you by IGNOU. You have to answer those questions, submit the assignment, and that will be your internal credit marks. As regards your external marks, is your examination, that will be at the end of the semester, where once again you will be informed how and in which way the examination will be. So you have to stay alert, you have to stay updated, and you have to keep a check on the announcements and the messages that are reaching you. This is a digital age and we are using a digital technology, and therefore we are virtually connected. So to be virtually connected, you must be digitally aware, my friends. And that is what I wanted to start with, to give you an idea of how digital education is important. Now let me come down to something very, very crucial for you. That is your final exam. All students are always worried as to how do we do the exam? How do we study for the exam? What is the pattern of the question? The pattern of the question is that usually out of 10 questions or 12 questions given in a paper, you will have to choose 5 long questions. How will you choose those 5 long questions? Because these are your books. These are the books you have. These you will have the 2 books. These are also available for downloading on the GNU portal. If you do not have the study material as of now, it's called MEG5, Literary Criticism and Theory, Volume 1. And the second one is Volume 2. You will prepare your examinations, my friends, not by chapter, but by topic. Because books are given with extensive knowledge and material which will help you to write your assignments and also to study for your question papers. So please note that in a semester system across a virtual platform, an open and distance mode of learning, it is virtually impossible to teach a book line by chapter. The graduate course, it is not even desirable to insult a student's intelligence by going line by line, chapter by chapter, because you are senior students, you are scholars. I don't like to call my students, I like to call them scholars. So your exposure, your understanding of a subject that you have chosen at the master's should be adequate for you to grasp a topic and to extensively study it with reference. So the teaching, if I may call it that, or the counseling, will be very succinct, very relevant, and very tight. It will give you the essence of the topic, and we shall definitely move topic wise. So this in a nutshell be the plan of teaching. This in a nutshell is going to be the concept or the flow chart of development. As of now, I am only 4 classes with you, 2 slots today, 2 slots tomorrow. There will be other teachers who will be teaching you other subjects, other components, and chart their patterns, their flow charts differently. So this is my plan of teaching. I would like to take 5 minutes to ask if any of you have any questions so far. Please don't unmute your mic, just write down those questions in the chat box if you have any questions at all so far. Rabi Salisu, please write the question in the chat box.
Okay.
Please mute your mic. Thank you. Have you written anything? I haven't received anything as yet. Will there be a postponement on the date of the assignment submission? That is not something that you can answer. I'm sure our CEO will be able to answer that for you, because that is a policy matter that will be handled by the regional center. Al Hassan Tasal, yes, we are going to be having online lessons since we are separated from each other in time and distance. This is an open and learn distance mode, and it will be conducted on the Google Meet platform. And the lessons are being recorded by the regional center. So I'm sure that you can get access to the lessons as and when you need them. Does anyone else have any questions, or can I proceed? Abe Salisu, do you have any questions you want to write down? You talked about exam format. Is it the topics? Idris Suleiman Isa, I will be sharing the previous year's question papers with you, and you can get an exact idea of the examination format. It is definitely going to be based on the topics inside the syllabus. You are welcome, Idris Suleiman Isa. Rabe Salisu, you cannot have written documents after the lecture, because as you can see, I am not reading from any documents. You are free to take screenshots on from the PowerPoints shown to you. You are free to make your notes and you are free to follow the materials of study given by IGNOU. There is no set speech that I am reading out, so therefore you can always take down or you can always take a screenshot of the PowerPoint, and I'm sure the recorded lectures will be available to you, so you can take your points from there. Al Hassan Salhatu, all day weekends only. I don't know about other classes. My classes are only on weekends, today and tomorrow. Bello Muhammad Jajere, is it necessary for the assignment to be written in handwritten? That direction will be given to you by IGNOU authorities on the question paper itself or in the directives of the question paper once your assignment is generated. For national students, it's preferably handwritten. You can ask when you get the assignment, because the assignment will be in the question paper. So you will have to read the questions and write the answer. Whether you can type it or whether you can write it is something that you can check. Chaman Singh Priyanka, please follow the questions being asked by others, because you have asked a repeat question. Whether or not the assignment will have extension date is not in my hand. It is the university that will decide, and you will be informed. I think all the questions are done, so I will just introduce myself very briefly, and then I will begin with your class. My name is Professor Shabina Nishat Umar. I have been in teaching now for 25 years. I started as a very, very young girl, and now I am a mature academician. I have books and journals to my credit. I have a host of international symposiums that I have attended and addressed. My areas are gender, literary, and cultural theory, apart from Indian writing in English. So, should I say that, in a way, what I am going to be teaching you is an antecedent area of my specialization. And I'm very happy to be associated with this very prestigious initiative of IGNOU, and very privileged to be addressing international scholars from across the globe like you. So welcome into my virtual classroom. And Bahiru Ibrahim Maibante, our supervisors assigned individually and at what time of the semester. That is once again something that the university will inform. Usually the assignment supervisor is the person who is teaching you. Now, not what policy matters will be decided for international students. You will be informed. Please keep an eye open for courses and guidelines. So I'm closing the first session. No more questions, please. I am starting the topic. Let me explain to you the topic and the paper, and I'm going to go very slowly so that it's easier for you to understand. I'm sharing another PowerPoint. Please check your screen. This is your paper, Literary Theory and Literary Criticism. This is the core component of the compulsory paper in your semester 1 of the master's course English. It's called MEG5. M for Monday, E for England, G for Garden. MEG05. Literary Theory and Literary Criticism. Please note the paper name and the paper code very clearly. I start with asking you, what is literary theory? And by telling you that literary theory is what you understand from a work of art, how you interpret a work of art or literature especially. When you understand literature, when you evaluate literature, when you analyze, that is the word, the key word, when you analyze literature? What do you use? What practice do you use? What information do you use to form your ideas and opinions about a text? For example, if you read a fairy tale like Cinderella, do you understand it only as a story for children? Do you understand it from a feminist point of view as a text about the condition of women? Do you understand it from a post-colonial point of view as a text about the oppressed? So what information do you use? What understanding do you use? What perspective do you use to interpret a work of literature? That is called literary theory. So what then, will you ask me, ma'am, is literary criticism? Literary criticism is a tool of analysis. It is a method of research that makes a scholarly or profound analysis of a simple text. For example, let us take Cinderella. On the surface, it is a story about a beautiful girl, very ill-treated by her father and very disturbed with the behavior given by her stepsisters, but her destiny changes with a fairy godmother helping her, and she meets the prince, and it all ends happily ever after. If you look at it from the point of a fairy tale, then it becomes a literary criticism on fantasy. If you look at it from the point of view of feminism, then it becomes an analysis of the condition of women. How patriarchy intersects with women. So the same text, based through different arguments, can have different analyses. If you need to have learning resources for this, if you want to look up this, these are a few resources. You can take a screen of this slide and you can read it up on it. Please feel free to take a screenshot of this and note them later. Check these out, Google these, and you will be able to do your referential reading. Coming to the third point, what is the history of literary theory? Literary theory begins with philosophy. And who was the father of philosophy? All of us know Socrates. Socrates and his student Plato did a lot of thinking about the philosophy of life and art. So from Plato begins classical literary theory, and you have this in your book. In your book, MEG5, book 1, you have Western critical thought beginning with Plato. So Plato says that literature is not a craft. Literature is not something that you can teach to write. Literature can only be written if you are inspired by the Almighty. So literature is born out of divine inspiration. But, and there is a very big but, literature is written by human beings. So between the divine inspiration from God to the expression by human beings, literature becomes diluted. And thus, literature is not truth. Because the inspiration is divine, but the expression is human. And therefore, the divine essence of literature becomes diluted by the time a human being writes about it, and thus literature is not true. There is no truth in literature. Therefore, Plato says any ideal society must throw out all poets, because poets are creators of fantasy, they are creators of imaginary reality. So poetry confuses us. Literature confuses us. We do not understand the distinction between fantasy and truth in literature. And therefore, any ideal society should exclude men of literature and should include seekers of knowledge. So this is the root of literary theory. This is the crux of literary theory. This is the beginning of literary theory when Plato talks about literature as being divinely inspired, but because it is written by human beings, it is not a trustworthy source of truth. Later in the 19th century, these ancient ideas were expanded because in the Romanticism movement, the same divine qualities of poets were spoken about as revealing the truth. In the 20th century, again, the literary theorists and the contemporary thinkers have demonstrated or proved that literature is an illuminating force. Literature is a guiding light. Literature is a source of knowledge, information. It is an understanding of how to live in the societies that we inhabit. So this is, my friends, the history of literary theory in very, very brief. For the same, again, I offer you a slide of learning resources, and please feel free to take a PowerPoint, to take a screenshot of this slide if you want to click on these links and learn further. Let me give you now some examples of literary theory. One example is structuralism, or what we call the structuralist theory, that sees language and literature as an assemblage of structures, units, subunits that together form a composite understanding. The second is psychoanalysis or psychoanalytic theory. The third is Marxist theory, understanding literature on the basis of Marxism. The fourth is feminist theory. And since most of you are from the African continent, you will have heard about the critical race theory or the African American literary theory. There is something called New Historicism. There is something called gender studies and queer theory. And finally, once again, as you are from a continent that was colonized, just like India was colonized, you must have known or must have heard about post-colonial theory. So these are some of the key examples of literary theory on the basis of which criticism or research of literary texts is carried out. Let me talk to you in brief about structuralism, and do not worry, I shall do these in detail. But just now today, for an introductory class, I am giving you the relevant information in a nutshell. Structuralism was popularized in the 1920s, and it is one of the most complicated theories because it understands language and linguistics as patterns. Language and music contain patterns, or should we say rhythms, or what we say as cadences. So does literature. Now you will ask, what kind of patterns can literature have? Literature can have thematic patterns, that is, the same kind of themes. For example, if you see, there are fairy tales, all of which have happy endings. There are fairy tales in which the hero is perfect and the villain is completely evil, so shades of black and white. Then you will see that there are certain love stories which have symbols. The rose is a symbol of love. The nightingale or some birds are a symbol of love. So literature can also have patterns such as myths, legends, symbols, themes, or even genre. What do we mean by genre? By genre, we mean type. For example, a crime story, story, a popular literature, a cartoon, a character, even a gendered narrative. So all these are genres. Fiction, something you must be used to if you do Facebook and if you do short fiction, 7-word stories. So there are all kinds of genres now. So structuralism then is the study of structure. It is the study of patterns. It is the study of symbols, genres, or even myths and archetypes. Next is psychoanalytic theory. Understanding the mind, understanding the mental attitude or the mental perspective. The founder of psychoanalysis is Sigmund Freud, an Austrian who was actually a physician. He was a neurologist. He is the founder of the study of the mind, psychoanalysis, it is called. Psychoanalytic theory examines the role of writers Karl Marx theory. Marx believed that man is not an isolated, man is not economic and social environment. If you come from a very poor background, from the labor class, you live in a society which is like a slum, you will have a very different attitude compared to a person who has a rich life and a social habitat and a comfortable existence. Because for that, what is going to be a necessity? For you, that is going to be a luxury. If I come from a very, very poor family, then an air conditioner for me is a luxury. But somebody who is upper middle class and has very rich and affluent, an air conditioner in every room is just a necessity. I need to have an AC. So Marxism studies the tension between the labor class and privileged class, the lower middle class and the upper middle class, the relations between them, the conflicts between them, the tensions between them, and how the same is reflected in literature. For example, if you read Charles Dickens, you will understand the class, the labor class, the victims of the Industrial Revolution, and the Marxist theory can best be applied to this class. Third, of course, is the feminist theory. The feminist theory, which emerged in the 1960s, what we call as feminism, and it seeks to examine the repression of women, the neglect of women, the fact that a woman was not accomplished, did not get an equal opportunity to write. She was stopped from expressing herself. Her concerns were considered important. So it seeks an equality for women in society, and it seeks to show you the distance power between the man and the woman, the male hegemony and the marginalized women. And the women are suffering from stereotypes, from patriarchal control, and from unfair practices in society and in literature. Finally, the critical race theory, which scholars backed race, racism, matters of human rights, understanding of what, I beg your pardon, that they call the blacks. They used to call the blacks, till they started calling them African American. The person of Africa has once again, I beg your pardon, a dark continent that has to be imbued by the white people. So these kind of insulting, humiliating, and unfair descriptions of a race that you do not understand and therefore you dismiss, or that Eurocentric theories have dismissed. This is now critically analyzed.
It seems like the network is bad or it cut.
Lasa, nitacheza. Why all these?
Yes. Did you, okay. Please mute your mics. Please mute your mics. So I want to ask you, if up to now you have any questions. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will. Yarga Bari, please mute your mic. If anybody has any questions, there are 12 people in the room. Could you please write your questions on the chat box? For those who joined late, I have an introduction to literary theory, literary criticism, types of literary theory, and what literary theory and criticism differentially mean. Does anybody have any questions so far? Overview to see point. Abu Bakr Mohammed, are you able to see the PowerPoint when I was showing it? Rabi Salisu, are you able to see the PowerPoint when I was showing it? Yes or no? Okay, I have the questions here. Rabi Salisu, headed light on structuralism, please. That will be done in a later session when I explain it fully. Regarding the introduction of the literary theory and criticism, ma'am, yes, Al-Hassan, that's how I have given the introductions in the first slide itself. Yes, Sophie Mohammed, I don't see the PowerPoint. I'm not showing the PowerPoint now. I was showing the PowerPoint when I had. I'm starting to show once again. Now, please follow the rest of the text. Al-Hassan Tasaltu, I have simply asked for questions, not for discussion. We shall take the discussions of what you understand later. If you have a question, you ask me now. If you don't have a question, you please don't start the discussion till the class is over. Please have some patience. I am showing you the PowerPoint once again. If anybody was blocked, they can see it now. This is the first slide. Are you able to see this? Yes? Are you able to see this? Yargabari, between literary theory and criticism, which one preceded the other? Obviously, the theory comes first and then the criticism. So if you can see this, this is my first slide. Then my second slide. The third slide, which you can take a screenshot of, learning resources. The fourth slide that I spoke about, the history of literary theory. Resources again, that you can again take a screenshot of. These are examples of literary theory that I gave you. This is each literary theory explained. The first thing I explained was structuralism. I hope you are able to read clearly. The second type is psychoanalytic. The third was Marxist theory. The fourth was feminist theory. The fifth was critical race theory and African American theory. The next was his new historicism, gender studies and queer theory, and then finally post-colonial studies. This was the first part of my class. Did you get to see all the slides, everyone? Yes? I'm waiting for you to respond. Is everybody able to see the slide? Students, I'm waiting for you to respond. Are you able to hear me? Is everybody able to hear me? I'm waiting for you to respond. You hear me? But here it's showing the PowerPoint is visible. Why is it that it's not visible to you? Can you hear me? Can somebody please respond? Idris Suleiman Issa, can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can. Asi Ali, thank you so much. Idris Suleiman Issa, thank you. Sufi
Hi,
Muhammad.
Ben.
Al-Hassan Tasatu, thank you so much. Yes, Priyanka?
Yes, we are hearing. It's clear. We can see the slides as
Thank
well.
you so much. Now you can see the slides as well. Thank you so much, Priyanka. Please do respond next time a little more promptly. It's very good to hear from you. Thank you. Please mute your mics, everybody. I am carrying on with the class. Please mute your mic. Please mute your mic. Yarga Bari, please mute your mic. It's impossible to teach like this. Thank you very much. All right, so here we are. I carry on. Now, the next part of our talk, we come to some of the very important figures in literary theory. I hope you can see this list. Yes, you can. The most important figure in literary theory, the names are given here. Mary Wollstonecraft, Simone de Beauvoir, Judith Butler, Virginia Woolf. Please note that these four women are the most important theorists of feminism. The most important theorists of feminism are these four ladies: Mary Wollstonecraft, Simone de Beauvoir, Judith Butler, Virginia Woolf. Then we have Roland Barthes, then Noam Chomsky, then Sigmund Freud, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Karl Marx, of course, You all know the name Edward Said for Orientalism. My next slide explains who or what is Mary Wollstonecraft. She is the earliest proponent of feminism, and her most important book is A Vindication of the Rights of Women. She explains that women are equal to men, but because they are not given equal education, they remain oppressed. So she is the lady who has founded the basis of feminist theory. The next theorist, Simone de Beauvoir, was a social theorist who says that we are born man and woman. We are born physically and sexually different. Our biology is different, but our gender is constructed society. Society which decides how a woman must behave and how a man must behave. What colors a woman must wear and what colors a man must wear. So this kind of conception becomes very fundamental in understanding and creates a lot of gender bias. The third person who speaks about feminism is Judith Butler. She's an American professor, philosopher, and gender theorist. She says that people behave in a particular way, and they behave as is expected of their society. And this creates a gender identity. For example, man will not cry in public, man will wear a certain kind of clothes in public, a woman will behave in a certain way, a man will behave in a certain way. A man is supposed to be very aggressive, he's taught to be loud. So, social constructions of gender. And repeatedly, when people behave like this, by certain gender identities. The fourth, of course, is Virginia Woolf. She speaks about gender roles, sexuality, class difference. So these are the four main theorists of women's writing, or as we say, feminism. Then, of course, we have Roland Barthes, who talks about the types of science, communication, language. And he is one of the proponents of structuralism, understanding literature as a pattern of structures. Noam Chomsky is also a theoretical linguist, and he talks about the patterns of language. Sigmund Freud talks about mental ideas, mental attitudes, mental motivations of how people behave and what they think. He talks about the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. W.E.B. Du Bois, a name that most of you would know, has spoken about the equal treatment of the Black people or the African people in a world which has always regarded them as inferior. He has spoken about their cultural values, their superiority, their equality with the people, their history, and their pattern of living. And he has directed academia to understand every native within the native framework of culture and lifestyle. Then, of course, Karl Marx, German historian, economist, and sociologist. He's spoken about the movements of socialism and communism and how people are shaped by their living and their circumstances. Edward Said was a Palestinian-American professor who has founded post-colonial studies with a seminal work on Orientalism, through which he says that the Europeans do not represent the Asians fairly and justly. There is a Eurocentric point of view and there's an Oriental point of view. And the Eurocentric point of view has always represented the Orient as inferior, creating very damaging stereotypes that characterize the people of the East as inferior to the Westerns. This, my friend, last slide of this is a literary theory book list for you. You can pick these books and read them. You can access them or them. Suggest that you take a screenshot of this slide. Now, this was the first part of my lecture, which gave you an understanding on literary theory, literary criticism, the types of literary theory, and the key figures of literary theory. I am not sharing the PowerPoint anymore. Before I process further, I want to ask you if you have any questions. If anyone has any questions, please write. Anyone has any questions so far, please write. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Please write. If there is anything at all that you want to ask, please write. Rabi Salisu about my email later. Al Hassan Tashaltu. Are these books available for download? Yes, many books are available for download. And what I'm giving are links. You can click the link and read it. Idris Suleiman Isa, I have the links in my PPT. You can take a screenshot of the PPT slides as I told you, and you can just Google the title. The link will open for you. You're welcome. Yes, Al Hassan Salhatu, it is MEG5. You're right. I'm giving you 5 minutes, switching off my mic. I want you to go through whatever I have taught you so far. And if you have any questions, please write while I just drink water in return. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you so much for the compliment and the feedback. I'm glad that it was lucid and clear. Thank you for all the compliments coming my way that the class is interesting. It's clear that you have gone through the slides with the key explanations. You are welcome, everybody. Al-Hassan Salhatu, one last question. If someone has missed a class, is there any possibility of him or her to meet up, like watching the recorded session? I'm sure there is a possibility of making up for your classes. You will just have to inform the center, because it's not within the jurisdiction of the teacher, the counselor. So I'm sure once you email the center or the contact, you can easily watch the classes which are being recorded. Now, I am giving you my email ID. There it is. Please note this email ID. Send me a message or an email telling me that you were present in the MEG5 class on 28th January 2023. And I will send you the PowerPoint that I have used so that you can take links from there. There is no other way that I can share your PowerPoint, but I can share it to you through the email. Since I'm not allowed to give you my phone number, and it's no use giving you my phone number because I don't access the phone so often. So I can do a favor because you are international students. I have limited classes with you. I can share it and you can take down my name also. I'm sharing my name with you. Sorry, that's misspelled. I'm sharing it again. It's Professor Shabina Nishad Omar. And it's sno.eng2018 at gmail.com. Now, before we progress further, we have all you have all speak. So before we progress, there are only 10 people apart from, rather 8 people apart from me. So why don't you unmute one by one, give a small introduction about yourself, where you are from, and what you do. So it would be so good to hear. Why don't you start, Abu Bakr Mohammed? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
And I'm sure everyone else can hear you.
It's all right. I'm Abu Bakr Mohammed by name, from Nigeria, Yobe State, precisely. I currently work as an education officer at Yobe Islamic Center here. I'm a teacher, actually, and an administrator at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
The next person is Al-Hassan Salhatu. Please tell me how to pronounce your name in case I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, it is Al-Hassan Salhatu. Yeah, and you can call it Salhatu. It's okay.
I got that. Thank you.
Where
are you from, Al-Hassan?
I am from Jigawa State of Nigeria. I'm currently residing in Suleja of Niger State. Actually, now I am a teacher with Lusima Comprehensive Schools and also an English tutor.
Louder, I can't hear you.
Okay, I am a teacher.
I got that.
With Lusima Comprehensive Schools and also an English tutor with Jammaji English Academy.
Wonderful. Thank you. The next person is Asi Ali. Would you like to say something about yourself. I think Asi Ali is not quite. So this person is Dahiru Ibrahim.
I'm here. Good morning. Good morning.
Asi Ali, very good. Good afternoon here. It's 4 p.m. Please tell us a little bit about
Okay,
yourself and switch on your camera. See if you can switch on your camera.
I'm not. I don't want to show myself, but I can talk.
Okay. Please
Okay.
tell us about
My name is
yourself.
Asia Aliyu.
And
Can you
what
hear
do
me?
do?
My name is Asia Aliyu. I'm from Kano State, Nigeria. Can you hear me?
I hear you very clearly.
Okay. I'm a civil servant. I'm a civil servant. I'm an administrator.
Wow. That's fun.
Yes.
Good to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Ibrahim. Dahiru Ibrahim there. Something about that. Fatima Ibrahim Musa. I'm sorry, I lost my connection. Is Fatima Ibrahim Musa there? Would you like to say something, Fatima? Dahiru Ibrahim, are you there? Ibrahim, are you there? Speak to us. I can see you. Ibrahim, loud Ibrahim, would you like to speak to us?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, my name is Ibrahim Lawan Ibrahim. I was born in Kano State, but currently living in Saudi Arabia as a teacher of English.
Where in Saudi Arabia are you?
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Where in Saudi Arabia are you? City?
Okay, I'm living in Al-Hasa, Eastern Province.
Next is Suleiman. Can you hear from you? It's Suleiman Isa.
Good afternoon, how are you doing, Ma? So, good afternoon, everyone here. I'm Idris Suleiman Isa, and I'm from Kaduna State. Also, I'm a tutor of English language, and at the same time, a poet. Also,
You're
a teacher.
a poet. Wonderful.
And
teacher,
also,
a poet.
yes,
We'd like to hear some of your poems, please.
yes, I have one poem right now. I wrote a poem titled "I Was Against My Time." So this poem,
Please share it with us. Please send it on my email. Please read it out for us also.
All right. I woke up at dawn. So, yes, ma. The title is "I Was Against My Time," and here it goes. I woke up at dawn. All things in the world has been plodded down except one single plant, okra. I show my concern to the okra, growing in tranquility and good manner. The okra exceeds its time to cut for my favorite meal. I resisted for a while. All of a sudden, The okra started almost hard back, like I'm pleased and carefree. I decided to cut it to my meal. When I pounded, never as I wish. When I cooked, never as I wish. I left the remaining ones, the seeds dry and falling down, seeking Allah to bless me with a righteous one. This is movement.
It's beautiful. What a
Thank you.
symbol. A very big clap for you. That's excellent. I wish you all the best for all the poems that you write. Please share with my email. Sufi Muhammad,
All
the
right, thank you. I will.
Idris. Sufi Muhammad, I is Sufi Muhammad. Sufi Muhammad, speak to us.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Sir.
I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear
My
you.
name is Sufi Mahamud. I am from Comoros. I am an English teacher. I am also an academic author. I work at the International Airport of Comoros. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Yes, Sufi Muhammad, I can hear you. There was a slight network disruption, but other than that, I could hear you. Please tell us about yourself.
First, other comment a person is noisy, but you cannot hear me very well. I've
Your
said I am
voice
an
is
English
your
teacher.
voice is cracking. Your voice is cracking. We shall get
Really?
back to you. Thank you. Priyanka Chaman Singh, can you speak till Sufi Muhammad gets his connectivity done? Priyanka Chaman
Yeah,
Singh,
okay.
can you speak?
Yes. Can,
Yes,
can you
please
hear
tell
me?
us. Yes, I can.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Priyanka Chaman Singh from Mauritius. I'm a private tutor working with agencies teaching children between 12 to 18 English and
Wonderful.
French.
Wow. Such a pleasure to have you, Priyanka.
Yes, from Mauritius. I think I'm the only one from Mauritius, I guess.
Yes, I think you're the only one from Mauritius. And it's wonderful to have somebody from all across. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rabe Salisu, can you speak for us, please? Rabe
Yeah.
Salisu.
My name is very simple. I'm a public servant and also human resources.
You are
I'm
from Mauritius?
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Nigerian
Rabe
country.
Salisu. Your voice is cracking. We'll get back to you. Thank you. That's wonderful. I am Shabina and I am speaking to you from Kolkata in India. Kolkata are known very famously as the city of joy. So, thank you everybody for sharing your profession, your personal identity, and details about yourself and giving me a good feedback. I did, kind of lose connection in the middle, but now it's better. So I will now once again continue with the PowerPoints and with the second part of my talk. We'll have a class for another half an hour, and then you will get a half an hour break. And my next slot will be resumed from what is Indian Standard Time at 5:30. So I will let you know as and how it happens. Just give me 2 minutes to get back to my PowerPoint. Thank you. All right, everybody. I am back once again, and this time I am going to be talking about Western classical literary theory, from where it all began. And it all began from Plato. So I will talk to you first about Plato. Please follow the PowerPoint that I'm sharing. If you cannot see it, let me know. Just a minute. Here is the first screen. Can you see this? I'm sure you can. So I'm going to be talking to you about Plato. Can everybody see this? Asi Ali says yes, so I'm proceeding. Who was Plato? So friends, you've all heard about Socrates, and Plato was the most famous follower of Socrates. By the time of Plato, Greek literature, that is the literature of Athens, art, literature, which had artists like Phidias, Polygnotus, writers like Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and Aristophanes, they were declining. And literature and art had been replaced by oratory, that is speaking. And who were the main orators? The main orators were Parmenides, Empedocles, and Socrates. They were speakers, that is orators, and they were philosophers, and they were thinkers, and they were the greatest minds. So Socrates was a teacher, and one of his most famous students was Plato. Now, these philosophers were very disturbed by the decline in art, in life, in the standards of literature, public life. So they discussed what we call as deliberations. They deliberated matters that concerned the average citizen, matters that concerned the Athenian state, and they discussed it, my friends, not emotionally but logically. And because it was done like a debate, because it was done by logic, it was always a very objective discussion. Not something from the heart, but something from the mind. Something which was given reasons for and against. It was more like a search for the ultimate truth. And one of the main questions that Socrates discussed with his disciples, with his fellow debaters, with his fellow philosophers was, what is the importance of literature in society? How is literature connected to society? What is the nature of literature? What are the functions of literature that can have an effect on society? Right? So among these discussions, one of his star students, Plato, Socrates' star student, Plato, came up with his own views, and he wrote books, the Phaedo, the Republic. And he explained, first of all, the theory of forms, Forms. Forms. What are forms? We are surrounded by things in this world. They can be living things and non-living things. They can be trees and birds. They can be stones and rocks. We understand these through our senses, through the smell, through the touch, through the taste, through the eyes, and through the ears. So this familiar world of objects which surrounds us and which we understand or perceive through our senses is not an independent or self-sufficient entity. It is not even the real world. Because the real world cannot be understood by physical senses. The real world can be understood only by reason. This is the theory of Plato when it comes to forms of things, living and non-living in this world. So what we use to understand this world are our senses, our touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. But what actually can enable a true understanding of any form is always logic. And the realm of pure form is actually intangible. It is ideas. So please understand two things. One, forms in this world are not real. What is real is only the idea in the mind. And second, the forms that we understand in this world are through physical senses. But the ideas are only understood through the rational mind. So therefore, the rational mind is the only way in which we can understand pure forms. That is Plato's first submission. Now the question is, how are the two worlds connected? The world of ideal form and the world of physical form. Plato says that any object in the physical world is beautiful because it is a form of beauty that exists in the higher realm of truth. The highest of forms are truth, equality, goodness. So this rationality has its essence in the physical world. To create a bed in the physical world, you must have an image of a bed in your mind. If you are a carpenter and you are creating a bed or a sofa or a couch or a chair, you must have it as an idea in your brain first. And only then can you copy or implement the design, right? So therefore, the ideal bed is the bed in your mind. That is the ideal form. And the physical creation from wood, stone, metal, whatever you use in this physical world is an imperfect copy. The example that can be used is geometry. That any triangle or square that we use we construct using physical instruments is bound to be imperfect. The ideal triangle is not a concept. The ideal triangle is an idea. It is not a physical object. I beg your pardon. Just give me a minute. I think there is a battery low on my earphone. So just 1 minute, please. Please bear with me. Just give me 1 minute while I change the speaker setting because the battery on my headphone seems to be low. Can you hear me now? Am I audible? Asi, can you tell me? Asi Ali, am I audible? Yes, thank you. So I've just removed my headphones. Thank you, Al Hassan. So I'm coming back to where I was, the connection between the realms. What is the connection between the idea and the object? The idea comes first and then comes the object. So the idea is perfect, but the object is an imperfect copy. For example, you imagine a triangle, which is a physically perfect triangle. But when you create that triangle using mathematical instruments on a piece of paper, there is going to be a minuscule of difference, and that makes it imperfect. So therefore, the world of ideas or forms is changeless and eternal, and that, says Plato, is actual reality. So truth is actual reality, and that exists only as an idea or as a concept, because it cannot be changed and it is eternal. It is a world of essence, of unity and universality. But in our world, in the physical world, we have change, we have decay, and we have existence, not essence. We have variety, that is multiplicity, different types, and different things of the same type. So therefore, there is no uniformity or universality, and that makes it imperfect. Next, what, as per Plato, was his view of art? Plato says that art is very, very closely connected to idea. Idea or concept is the ultimate reality. Before you create or express anything, you conceive. Please remember this very carefully, that before you create or express, you must conceive. And how do you conceive it? You conceive it as an idea. So anything that takes practical shape must always be conceived as an original idea first. So in the world of ideas lies the ultimate reality. And anything that is expressed is but a copy of the idea. So it is once removed from reality. For example, if you imagine a blue sky and you actually go down to painting that sky on paper, your painting is always a copy from your imagination, because your painting is a reproduction of your idea, and thus it is a copy. It is removed from reality. So therefore, art can take you away from reality rather than towards reality. Please understand the concept. Therefore, he says, art has no useful purpose in society. Art is useless. It neither gives you knowledge, nor it gives you any intellectual value, but it deceives you. It misleads you. It teaches you to believe in your imagination, and it has very little intellectual value. The person who looks at art, the person who reads literature, is mistaken that he is watching reality, when actually it is not reality. It is just the imperfect copy of a perfect idea. And sometimes, as in literature, art has a concern with morality and immorality, and it teaches you dangerous lessons. Priyanka, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question? Or will you wait for me to finish? Priyanka, do you have a question or should I continue? I think I should continue. I'll take all your questions at the end. Why does Plato attack poetry? This is very, very important for us to understand why Plato attacks poetry. Thank you, Priyanka. Then I think your hand is raised. So if you can just, click on the icon and unraise your hand, because here I can see that your hand is raised. Now, when Plato attacks poetry, why does he do it? These are the 4 points you must understand, because this usually can come as an examination question. Poetry is the expression of an idea, and thus it is removed from reality. Therefore, it misleads a human being into believing in its imperfection. Number 2, poetry arises out of inspiration. Poetry does not arise from logic. Poetry is not the result of logic. Poetry arises out of a sudden inspiration or a divine inspiration. And then the man or the woman, the person, starts expressing poetry, starts writing poetry. So therefore, since poetry is not the result of logic, since poetry has not been thought about for a very long time, it cannot replace philosophy and it cannot teach you to think better. Point number 3. Poetry has an effect on your emotions and not on your logic. Poetry appeals to your heart, to your feelings. Poetry does not appeal to the logical mind. And since emotions are temporary, sometimes you are happy, sometimes you are sad, sometimes you are angry, sometimes you are excited, sometimes you are calm. Emotions keep changing, and anything that keeps changing cannot guide people clearly. Next, poetry is not moral. Poetry is amoral. Poetry is neither only about goodness nor only about evil. Poetry does not teach you the difference between good and evil. Poetry shows you corruption, and poetry also shows you virtue. So it does not teach you to differentiate between the good and the bad, and can corrupt you. Poetry gives you pleasure, but actually it should be didactic. It should teach you something. It should contribute to your knowledge. So Plato says that the truth can be a test of poetry. A poet is only a good artist if he is a good teacher. And poetry does not teach anything valuable to a human being or to society. So this is the basis of his attack on poetry. We shall not go into whether it is right or it is wrong. These are his views, and we must understand each theoretical view objectively. Coming to drama, Plato says drama is also a branch of poetry, and It is different. It is also useless, he says, but it is different because it has to be staged, performed. So its success or its failure depends upon the audience. And dramatists can use anything to gain audience attention. They can use thunder, lightning, fight, lovemaking, any kind of technique to gain the attention of the audience. And these are very shameful techniques in normal life. Audiences who watch the drama, they identify with the character, whether it's the hero or the villain or the criminal or the coward. So they lose individuality because they start understanding inferior characters also. So Plato is against drama. He says drama gives pleasure, and pleasure does not teach. Rather, it arouses feelings of anger, fear, because there is excess of emotions in drama. In comedy, people laugh on characters that they should pity. So the characters in a comedy are neither lovable, nor are the characters in a tragedy didactic. And hence, poetry and drama have no valuable contributions to society. Next, Plato was a speaker, my friends. So he speaks about style. He says that even when a person speaks, why just acting and writing? Even when you are speaking, you must be knowledgeable, clear in what you are saying, and you must practice speaking. You must be coherent. You must be in order, in sequence, and you must understand the psychology of your audience, what type of people you are speaking to, and how you will impress upon them the importance of what you are speaking about. So these, my friends, in a nutshell, are the observations of Plato on poetry, drama, and style. Shutting down my PowerPoint. If you have any questions, I shall take those questions. And our first class ends here. My next class will begin exactly after 30 minutes. And that will continue for 1 hour, 30 minutes. And 2 chunks of your syllabus will be over. So if you have any questions right now, please ask me within the next 5 minutes before I shut down my camera. The link is on. The meeting will continue. You don't have to join again after 30 minutes. You can keep your link on and just switch off your cameras and take a break for 30 minutes. Any questions, anybody? Abu Aliyu Yunusa, you have just joined. Any questions? Abu Bakr Muhammad, any questions? Al Hassan Salhatu, Asya Ali, Dalhat Lawan Ibrahim, Ibrahim Lawan Ibrahim, Isufi Muhammad, Priyanka Chaman Singh, Al Hassan Salhatu. Can we say that Plato is the founder of criticism? I would say Plato is the earliest proponent of literary theory. I would not go so far as to call it criticism, but I would definitely say that Plato can be regarded as one of the founding fathers of literary theory. I am once again sending my email to you. If you email me, I can share the PowerPoints with you, and maybe it will help you to understand after you read it once, since I have very limited classes with you. So since you have no questions, does anybody have any kind of feedback? Did you like the class? Did you understand what I was trying to tell you? Do you now have a better idea of literary theory and criticism? Please do share a little bit with me. I would like to have a feedback from you, please. Anyone, any feedback, or is everybody so exhausted? All right, then I thank you, Asi Ali. I do have a better idea of literary criticism and it will make reading the text easier. I'm so happy to hear this. I'm so glad that, it makes it easier for you. It makes my hard work much more meaningful. Yes, the class is quite explicit. We need to have the slides to read it once again. So please email me, Priyanka Chaman Singh, and I shall send you the slides. Anybody who wants the slides can email me. Isufi Muhammad, has Socrates something to do with poetry and drama, or before Socrates? Socrates does have a lot to do with the way his students think and thought. So I think before Socrates, since it's not in your syllabi, let us not go preempt ourselves so far back, but Socrates did have an impact on Plato. I found that his views of forms expounded systematically. Abba Aliyu Yunusa. But what is your views on that? My views on that is that you take each theorist very objectively, because all the theorists have expounded their views very systematically. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you challenge it or accept it, that is totally up to you, Abba Aliyu Yunusa. But you must understand that every theorist that you study has a very systematic enunciation of his or her views. So thank you everybody for your time and attention. I am calling it a day. I will rejoin you at 5:30. I am not exiting the meeting. After 30 minutes, I will be back. If you want, you can just mute your mics and switch off your video cameras. Take a walk, take a break.